Hello everyone, on December 4th, Creative Assembly will be revealing some brand new Total War titles, one falling under fantasy and one falling under history. It's kind of exciting because many people kind of expect what's to come. Most people are hoping for Medieval 3 and Total War 40k. It could be anything really, as we do know that Creative Assembly have a lot of titles being worked on. It's just how they are. And as exciting as that may be, I'm hoping that Creative Assembly have been looking towards the future properly and addressing some very core issues with the Total War series, having them fixed up for the brand new titles and all future games. So let's talk about the issues currently in Total War and hope for the best, really. But before anything, a big thank you to our video sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy games at discounted rates. Maybe you're looking for a new title or jumping into a series which has a lot of DLC, but you don't want to spend too much money on it because you're not sure that you're going to like it. Instant Gaming is a fantastic platform to find absolutely awesome discounts. I myself have just recently picked up Jurassic World Evolution 3, which is honestly really good. 25% off. The game itself is incredibly fluid. I'm actually quite happy because it's just improving on the first two titles, so that's always great. Getting it on a discount meant that I could actually pick it up with the deluxe edition too, which again, fantastic. Not only that, but we do also have our monthly giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link below and sign up. You don't even have to make a purchase. Again, this is a company I've been working with for quite some time now. I think we've got a very good working relationship. I also do purchases directly from their website as, yeah, you know, gaming is expensive and the old world is getting more expensive and I want to be able to afford my miniatures. So a big thank you, as always, to Instant Gaming for the sponsorship. Let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, let's start off, well, pretty strong, but I think most of it is going to be pretty strong here. Battle AI. Battle AI for Total War games has always been kind of awful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. It's just been something that never really hits the mark. Interestingly enough, it used to be better in older games, but as new stuff keeps getting added in, it looks like a lot of really what made the battle so special has started kind of dwindling away. And you'd think it'd be a lot more thorough now, especially with the Warhammer series, where there's so many giant monsters and big magic spells and so on. But in most cases, it's the same thing. The armies will go directly for you, the cavalry will always try to flank you regardless of how you're fighting, which is why, if you've corner camped before, you'll see that cavalry-based armies will just try to attack you from a side that doesn't really exist. It gets to a point that you know how these armies are going to play out, and you know exactly how these battles are going to go, which isn't great. Sure, you can have thousands of hours into the series like I do, but you're still expecting to be surprised every now and then. The unfortunate reality is that the AI has always been kind of lacking here. What's weird is we've seen situations where the AI can be quite smart. You can see that with Free Kingdoms sometimes. But it's something that desperately needs to be improved for future titles. Whether we have 40k, Med 3 or whatever comes out, those games are going to be demanding a lot more. The expectation is there for Creative Assembly to not only further enhance the titles visually and mechanically, but also through actual proper gameplay. It does get into a point late game where a lot of people will just skip battles with auto-resolve, which, yeah, I mean, auto-resolve exists for a reason, but it shouldn't really be the main form, especially since the campaign itself is kind of bare bones. But this is a perfect segue into the next point, the campaign aspect. We need to see more grand strategy into the campaign. This is a massive title. The Total War series has always been quite large, and we have seen improvements. Keep in mind, Creative Assembly did do Free Kingdoms, and the diplomacy system and just in general, the admin system was a lot better than most Total War games, and it hasn't been used ever since. Which is weird, considering that there have been Total War games released after, sure by the sister studio, but still, it's a Total War game. I would argue that the Free Kingdoms diplomacy system actually brought in a breath of fresh air, which was desperately needed for Total War. The warfare can be decent, but the campaign has always been kind of boring. Now, I'm not saying that we need systems on the level of Paradox games, for example, because, let's be honest, we don't need that in a Total War game. That's why we have the Paradox titles. But I would say it would help. Say, for example, you're playing Medieval 3. Wouldn't you love a very complex, well, not even complex, but rather structured diplomacy system so you could actually pick up some allies from coalitions? Get ready to launch a crusade with your crusaders because, well, everyone wants to Dale's Vault, right? I would be very incredibly disappointed if I fired up a brand new Total War title and I was met with the rather limited and uninspired diplomacy of Total War Pharaoh or Total War Warhammer 3. It's not good, it doesn't really bring a lot to the table, and you're expecting for a massive war game not to have good diplomacy at the very least. It is incredibly disappointing with that. It's about time that Creative Assembly elevated the franchise even further, and that is what's going to push it. It's not a 40k setting, it's not even a medieval free. Any Total War game getting massive improvements to diplomacy would improve it so much, because with an improvement to diplomacy there should be improvements to vassals, there should be improvements to alliances. Stuff like that would just make the game so much better. There is no reason in Warhammer 3, or in most cases most Total War games, to be in an alliance, because you're going to be dragged into endless wars and have your reliability rating go down, and then everyone's going to dogpile on you, including your ally. Alright, customization, something that is actually fairly recent, being added into Total War Pharaoh and then Dynasties, and slowly, and I mean with a real glacier's pace, being added into Total War Warhammer 3. I'd say that this is one of the best things that Sierra Sophia have done in recent years, because customization is very, very important. You can change so much. Like seriously, there are so many pages, and I think that's really important for a grand strategy title. Hell, I would even say that there's more options here than there is in CK3. Customization not only adds in replayability, but allows you to tailor your campaign to your specific needs. Over the years, I've been streaming campaigns, and I've had new people pop in, veterans also, who'll say, well, the campaign is too easy, the campaign is too hard. What if there was a random start position, right? Sure, that's something that you can get with mods, but it's stuff that could easily be integrated into the base game. If there was a lot of customability, you could easily set the game to be your perfect Total War. And I think that's ultimately what a lot of people want. They want something where maybe they're playing as, I don't know, say the Holy Roman Empire, and you've set it to the point that everyone is attacking you, but you've got yourselves a nice defensive position, or maybe you've started playing, let's say, for example, Total War Warhammer, and you just put a random start modifier on, right? So you could end up as Karl Franz, but starting off in, say, Lustria, because for some reason Creative Assembly love Lustria, so that maybe they'll pull a lot of randomness there. Again, it's more about having a little bit more of everything, so players could just have as much fun as possible. It'll give so much more reason for people to keep coming back. Which means that if we end up with cycles right now, you know, the whole situation of DLCs taking a year to get done, well, you know, at least you've got something else to do. Alright, sieges. Now, you might say, oh, well, you've done battles already, but sieges has to be classified as its own thing, because sieges have been very touch and go for Total War as a whole. They weren't really good for Rome, but they were really good in Thrones of Britannia and Three Kingdoms, even Shogun 2. They were kind of lacking in Attila, and then just horrible in Total War Warhammer, which hasn't been great. Let's be honest, for the past 10 years, sieges have been pretty shit. Their method of bringing in minigames is not what was needed. Sieges, what needed to be done was to be made more dynamic, proper pathfinding. This is a massive issue which still, yes, affects the normal battles, but sieges have always been horrendously bad, and they really need to get a proper fix-up. I'm thinking in the future, whatever Total War game that we get, we need to start seeing proper siege battles. No tower defense minigames, no just random buildables. There should be buildables before the battle starts, and that's it. That's a main thing. But also, certain cities for certain cultures, depending on what franchise, right, or what setting of history, you need to have extra long corridors to be able to have chariots to move through, or else that's just not going to be useful there. And it sucks when they are part of a garrison unit. You need to be able to have proper defendable multi-layer walls, because in most cases, when it came to actual real life, yes, some castles were built multi-layer to be able to defend even better. Better vantage points of shooting, better reasoning on defending the walls. My biggest concern is that Creative Assembly are going to be looking at the sieges and how people have been complaining about it, and they're just going to try and get rid of them slowly. Because this is what happened with Warhammer 3. A lot of people complained about the minor settlements, right? Yes, they weren't good, but they just added in a system where they're just going to be popping up less. That's not a settlement battle, and those settlement battles have to be there. Total War needs to go forwards and not backwards. That's the big thing. And then lastly, I think it's no surprise, we need a new engine. Total War needs a new engine, because it's very clear that the Warscape engine has been having a massive amount of technical debt for quite some time now. Creative Assembly even did a blog about it in their old forums, you know, the whole thing about spaghetti code in their old way of talking, you know, which was I don't know, rather insulting, I think, where it's like, well, fix it. Yeah, sure, there can be spaghetti code and it does happen, but there's a lot of amount of files. Hell, there's files from older games still in the Total War Warhammer 3 engine. Stuff gets left over, stuff doesn't get fixed in the database. You can find multiple entries for the same exact unit. It's only one that's active. That stuff needs to be cleared out. But at this point, the engine is running on its last legs. This engine has been going on since, I believe, Rome 2, if memory serves, with Warhammer 1 going off the basis of the Attila engine and then straight forward, right? So it's just the same thing over and over. There needs to be a proper clear out, there needs to be a proper fix. It's about time that we saw a new engine, a fresh start, to be able to then, another 10, 15 years down the line, then the fan base will be complaining about it again, because that's how it goes, that's unfortunately how it goes. There are limitations to this engine, to Warscape, and they've been pushing it really, really well, I might add. Because, yeah, Immortal Empires being so large, the thing with the Realm of Chaos, and how, even though I hate the Realm of Chaos, it's still showing that the engine can still technologically advance. But as we get all these advancements, we get constant bugs. We get something like what happened recently with the AI dying out. Stuff like this could still happen. I'm not saying that it will ever disappear, because it's just the nature of game design. But at this point, it might happen less if there was less crap under the hood. I'm not going to say that this will fix every problem. I am not a game designer, but I look at games in a very similar way as how I take care of my amplifiers, for example. You've got to make sure that they're tuned up. You've got to make sure that everything works. No random tube breakage and stuff. A perfect example would be Bethesda, who keep using the same engine, just keep evolving it over and over, and that's why, Skyrim's AI is crap, even though they keep kind of hyping it up. It's like, oh, well, it's the same. Look, I want to see Creative Assembly improve. I want to see Creative Assembly succeed, because when they succeed, we get good games. But things need to change. This is just game stuff. I'm not going to talk about communication and so on, because, that's just flogging a dead horse at this point. But let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys think, if there's anything that I might have missed. And let's have a bit of a discussion. I do apologize, the video is going to be super late today. So much busy work trying to get the move sorted. Finally got the quote for moving all my Warhammer and so on. And after having a bit of a heart attack at the shock of the price, because everything is moving by ship. Yeah. See you soon, guys. Have a good one.